My girlfriend's mom said I was too poor to marry her daughter. My girlfriend just sat there silent. I took a deep breath, smiled, and left. 3 years later, she regretted it. Now she's blowing up my phone, begging me to talk. Hey everyone! Before we dive in, I have a quick favor to ask. If you enjoy content like this, please hit the subscribe button. It's free, supports the channel, and ensures you never miss out on amazing videos. Alright, let's get started. I never thought I'd be sharing this story on Reddit, but after scrolling through our relationship during my lunch break, I realized maybe writing this out might help someone else avoid the 3 years of pain I went through. Plus, the recent developments have me questioning everything. I met Grace, 26F, at a mutual friend's housewarming party in 2020. You know those connections where everything just clicks? That was us. 3 years of building what I thought was a solid relationship. We had our routines. Tuesday night takeout while watching terrible reality shows, weekend farmers market trips where she'd always convince me to try some weird new fruit, and those late night talks about our future that felt so real. I was saving up for our future, not rich by any means, but I had a solid plan. Living in a decent but modest apartment, driving my 2012 Toyota that still ran perfectly fine, and putting away a good chunk of my paycheck each month. Grace never seemed to mind my practical lifestyle, or so I thought. Everything changed last Friday. Grace's mom, Aurora, invited us for dinner at their house. Something felt off from the moment we pulled up in my Toyota. Aurora's eyes lingered on my car a bit too long as we walked up their driveway. I'd met her before at various family events, but this dinner felt different, more formal, like an evaluation. The first red flag was when Aurora kept steering the conversation toward material things. "Oh, Matthew, still driving the same car?" And Grace mentioned, "You're still in that apartment by the mall." Each question felt like a tiny paper cut. I kept my composure, answered politely about my financial planning and career goals. Grace just pushed her food around her plate, unusually quiet. Then came the moment. Aurora sat down her wine glass and looked at me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Matthew, dear, let me be direct. I understand you have intentions with my daughter." I nodded, keeping my voice steady. "Yes, Grace and I have discussed our future together. Have you really thought about what kind of life you can offer her?" Aurora's voice was sweet poison. "Grace is used to certain comforts. That apartment of yours, that old car, it's all very modest. Too modest for my Grace." The silence that followed was deafening. I turned to Grace, waiting for her to say something. Anything. She just sat there, staring at her plate, her cheeks red. The silence spoke volumes. Aurora continued, each word calculated. "I think it's best we're honest here. You're simply not in the right position to marry into this family. Grace deserves someone who can maintain her lifestyle. You understand, don't you?" I looked at Grace again. Still nothing. Just silence. The same girl who could talk for hours about her passions, who had strong opinions about everything from coffee brands to climate change, sat there mute while her mother dismantled our relationship. I felt an odd sense of calm wash over me. 3 years of memories crystallized into perfect clarity in that moment. All those times Grace hesitated to post photos of my apartment on her Instagram, the way she'd suggest we take her car to meet her friends, the subtle hints about career changes that would really maximize my potential. I stood up, my movements deliberate. I placed my napkin on the table, smiled. Not a forced smile, but a genuine one. Because in that moment, I felt nothing but gratitude for the clarity. "Thank you for dinner, Aurora, and thank you for your honesty." I turned to Grace, who finally looked up, her eyes wide. "Your silence told me everything I needed to know." I walked out. No drama, no raised voices, just the quiet sound of my modest car starting up and driving away. My phone started buzzing before I even reached the main road. Grace calling, then texting. I put on my Spotify playlist and drove home in peace. That was 5 days ago. Grace has sent me 47 messages, called 23 times, even showed up at my apartment twice. I haven't responded. Her last message just came through. "Please, can we just talk? Mom was wrong. I was wrong to stay silent. I love you." But here's the thing. Sometimes silence speaks louder than any words that come after. Edit, thanks for all the awards and support. To answer some common questions. Yes, I'm okay. Actually, better than okay. Sometimes it takes a moment like this to realize your own worth. Update, a lot of you are asking what happened next. That's a whole other story, and honestly, it gets much more interesting. I'll post an update soon if you want to hear it. Update, first, thank you all for the overwhelming support on my last post. I wasn't expecting it to blow up like that. A lot has happened since then, and after getting another message from Grace this morning, I feel like it's time for an update. The weeks after that dinner were interesting. Grace's messages went from apologetic, "I'm so sorry, I was shocked," to defensive, "You're overreacting, Mom was just concerned," to angry, "How dare you ghost me after 3 years," and back to apologetic again. I kept all our mutual friends on Instagram, but muted her stories. Didn't need to see her perfectly curated posts about growing through what you go through, and every other day. The real surprise was the relief I felt. You know that feeling when you've been wearing uncomfortable shoes all day and finally take them off? That's what it was like. I hadn't realized how much energy I'd been spending trying to meet invisible standards. I threw myself into self-improvement, but not in that toxic revenge body way you see on TikTok. I started hitting the gym regularly because I actually had time now. Got back into reading actual books, not just endless Reddit scrolling. Finally tried that meal prep thing everyone on YouTube talks about. Turns out it actually saves money. Who knew? Then came the LinkedIn message that changed everything. A former colleague needed someone for a new project. Better position, better pay. I took it. Funny how things work out when you're not constantly second-guessing yourself to meet someone else's expectations. That's how I met Vivian. She was coordinating with my team on some designs, and we kept running into each other in the break room. No fancy meet cute, just two people bonding over our mutual hatred for the office Keurig machine and love for actually decent coffee. The difference was striking. With Grace, every date felt like a performance. With Vivian, our first date was getting dollar tacos and walking around the city, talking about everything from true crime podcasts to why mint chocolate chip is clearly the superior ice cream flavor. She's wrong, by the way. It's cookie dough. Vivian drives a beat-up Subaru that's probably older than my Toyota, lives in a cozy studio apartment with more books than furniture, and couldn't care less about Instagram aesthetics. Her idea of a perfect Saturday is hitting up thrift stores and trying to find the most ridiculous coffee mugs possible. We've got quite the collection going. But here's where it gets interesting. Last week I was grabbing coffee at that new place downtown, and I ran into Grace's cousin. Apparently Grace is engaged to James, some guy her mom introduced her to. The cousin, trying to be subtle but failing miserably, mentioned how Aurora is just thrilled about James's family connections. The twist? Grace doesn't look happy in any of the engagement photos her family's posting. I know that forced smile. Saw it enough times when she was trying to convince herself she was okay with my modest lifestyle. This morning, I got another message from Grace. I see you're doing really well. James and I are having our engagement party next month. I know this is weird, but I miss our talks. Maybe we could grab coffee as friends. I showed the message to Vivian. She just laughed and said, "Wow, the audacity is actually impressive." Then went back to planning our weekend camping trip, complete with those ridiculous glamping fairy lights she insisted on buying. I didn't respond to Grace's message. Instead, I finally did something I'd been thinking about for a while. I took Vivian to pick out a ring. Nothing fancy, just a simple vintage piece we found at that antique store she loves. The same store where we bought our favorite coffee table, the one with the weird duck feet that everyone questions, but we love. The proposal isn't going to be some elaborate Instagram-worthy production, just us, that ridiculous coffee table, and maybe our favorite takeout, because that's us, comfortable, real, no pretenses. Oh, and that project I mentioned? It's taking off in ways I never expected. Turns out, when you're not constantly trying to prove yourself worthy of someone else's standards, you actually have energy to focus on what matters. Edit, since people are asking, yes, Vivian knows about the Grace situation I told her early on. Her response? Well, their loss is my gain. And I'm especially grateful for your Toyota because my Subaru might actually be dying this time. Update coming soon, and trust me, you'll want to hear this one. Update 2. Okay, I didn't expect to be writing another update so soon, but holy hell, the last 48 hours have been wild. Remember how I mentioned Grace's engagement to James? Well, buckle up, because this is where it gets interesting. So, there I was in a meeting with a potential client about their downtown development project. Guess who walks in? Aurora. Turns out she's representing the venue where Grace and James are supposed to have their wedding. The look on her face when she realized I was leading the meeting? Priceless. But let me back up a bit. The last few months have been crazy successful for our company. We've been landing major projects left and right, including several that used to be handled by James's family business. Not because of any revenge plot, we just do better work for better prices. Simple as that. The meeting was about renovating this historic building for events and weddings. Aurora tried to maintain her composure, but I could see her squirming when my team presented our portfolio, especially when we showed the Chapman project. Yeah, the one that James's company botched so badly it made the local news. Then it happened. Right in the middle of our presentation, Grace burst into the room. Apparently, she'd been waiting for her mom in the lobby and couldn't handle the curiosity when she saw my name on the meeting schedule. "Matt, what are you doing here?" Her voice had that shrill tone I remembered from our arguments, the same tone she used when I suggested we didn't need to go to that overpriced brunch place for Instagram photos. I kept it professional. "We're in a meeting, Grace. If you could please... Is this why James's company lost the Riverside contract? Have you been deliberately targeting his projects?" The client, Mrs. Wilson, cleared her throat. "Excuse me, but what's going on?" Aurora jumped in, trying to smooth things over, but Grace was on a roll. "Mom, this is why all your clients have been jumping ship. because of him. I couldn't help but laugh, actually laugh. Grace, our company won those contracts because we do good work at fair prices, just like your mom passed on me because I wasn't good enough. Her clients are passing on overpriced, underdelivered projects. It's just business. Mrs. Wilson was fascinated. Aurora, you know Matthew? Aurora's face went pale. He used to date my daughter, the one getting married in our venue. Mrs. Wilson raised an eyebrow. The wedding you've been trying to use to convince me to stick with the current contractors instead of exploring other options. The silence was deafening. Grace's face switched from anger to shock as she realized what was happening. Mom, what's going on with the venue? Aurora's professional mask cracked. Grace, sweetie, there have been some issues with James's company's recent projects, but I'm sure. Mrs. Wilson interrupted. The last 3 projects were delivered late and over budget, and now I find out there's personal history affecting your recommendations. That's when Vivian walked in with the updated blueprints we needed. She took one look at the scene, saw Grace, and just said, "Oh, this should be good." Grace spun around. "You must be the replacement," she spat. Vivian just smiled. "Actually, I'm the upgrade, and you're interrupting our meeting." What happened next was both tragic and hilarious. Grace started crying about how everything was falling apart. Apparently, James had been hiding his company's financial troubles. Their perfect wedding venue wasn't even secured because his company's reputation was tanking. And now her mom's business was taking hits because she'd been pushing clients toward James's failing company. Mrs. Wilson stood up. "I've seen enough. Mr. Matthew, please have your office send over the full proposal. Aurora, I think we need to discuss my venue's contract with you." As everyone was leaving, Aurora grabbed my arm. "Matthew, please, this wedding means everything to Grace, to our family's reputation." I gently removed her hand. "Funny how reputations work, isn't it? They're built on actual results, not appearances." Vivian and I went to get coffee afterward. She couldn't stop laughing. "So that's the famous Grace and Aurora? Wow, just wow." My phone's been blowing up since then. Grace's friends are messaging me about how she's having a meltdown and needs closure. James's business partners are trying to connect on LinkedIn. And Aurora? She just sent an email asking for a professional courtesy meeting. Edit to everyone asking, "Yes, we got the contract. No, I'm not meeting with Aurora." And yes, Vivian's upgrade comment was totally unplanned and totally perfect. Final update. Well, Reddit, this is it. The final chapter of this crazy story. I wasn't going to post this, but after what happened at our wedding yesterday, I need to get this out. Remember how Grace showed up at our office? That was just the beginning. The week before our wedding, everything came to a head in the most dramatic way possible. First, James and Grace's wedding got postponed indefinitely. Their fancy venue contract fell through after Mrs. Wilson went with our company instead. James's business troubles became public when they couldn't pay their contractors. Grace's perfect wedding plans crumbled, and apparently, she blamed everyone but herself. Aurora's real estate business took hit after hit as more clients discovered she'd been pushing them toward James's failing company. Her carefully curated social circle started shrinking as people connected the dots. Then came the wedding day. Our wedding day. Vivian and I kept it simple, just a casual ceremony at this cool converted warehouse space our company renovated. String lights, food trucks, and absolutely zero pretense. Perfect. During the reception, I was at the bar getting drinks when I heard the commotion. Grace had crashed our wedding. Not alone. She brought Aurora and, surprisingly, a very drunk James. "This is what you wanted." Grace was screaming, mascara running down her face. "To ruin everything? Everything." Vivian, my absolute queen, just looked up from her street tacos and said, "Security on speed dial, babe." But Grace was on a roll. "You did this on purpose. You stole our venue. You took Mom's clients. You destroyed James's business." I set down my drink. "Grace, you need to leave." "No," she was full on crying now. "Tell them the truth. Tell them how you planned this revenge." That's when Aurora stepped forward, and what she said shocked everyone. "Grace, stop it. He didn't plan anything. We did this to ourselves. I pushed you away from a good man because he didn't meet my artificial standards. I pushed my clients toward James's company because of status, not quality. Every decision I made was based on appearances, and look where it got us." James, swaying slightly, laughed bitterly. "At least you didn't invest your family's money in my company like my other investors." He turned to me. "You know what's funny? Your company's doing exactly what I promised mine would do. You just actually did it." Grace wasn't having it. "Mom, how can you take his side after everything? After everything we did?" Aurora cut in sharply. "Matthew didn't steal anything. He built something real while we were busy building appearances." Vivian stood up. "Okay, this has been fun, but it's my wedding day and you're ruining my taco time. To go." Grace turned to me, tears streaming. "I loved you. I really did." "No, Grace, you loved the idea of molding me into what your mom wanted. There's a difference." Security started moving in, but Aurora raised her hand. "We're leaving. But Matthew, I was wrong about you. I'm sorry it took losing everything to see that." As they were escorted out, James turned back. "Hey, any chance you're hiring?" That got a laugh from everyone, even Vivian. The rest of the wedding was perfect, just us celebrating with people who actually care about us, not our status. Vivian's dad made a toast about how love isn't about appearances or expectations. It's about building something real together. Pretty sure he was throwing shade at our uninvited guests, but it was perfect. This morning, I woke up to a final email from Aurora. She's selling her business and moving to Florida. Grace and James officially called off their engagement, and my phone keeps blowing up with messages from their social circle trying to connect for business opportunities. But you know what? None of that matters. I'm sitting here in our apartment, watching Vivian try to make pancakes. She's terrible at it, but she refuses to give up, and I realize something. Success isn't about proving people wrong. It's about proving yourself right. Like today's story? A super thanks helps me keep bringing you the best daily content. Your support means I can keep doing what I love. Thanks for being awesome.